What up, y'all? It is your boy, the one and only A Switch, aka the Barracuda Bandit, aka that feeling when your toenail missing. Oh my god. AKA get that damn lint out your pocket. Welcome all to Switch Snes podcast. Basically my solo podcast where I talk about gaming and basically all things related to that. Welcome. We're on episode 18, I believe. Today's date is August 15th, 2019. Been somewhat of a slow news week. Haven't really nothing really huge or significant has necessarily came out since last episode. I guess technically the calm before the storm in terms of Gamescom, which is going to be next week. So probably be a good amount of news there. I'm just double checking if there's anything substantial that has been added. That of which I do not see currently, but just let me double check. Yeah. Nope. So cool. No worries. Probably just be a little bit of a shorter episode. Don't want to take up your time if there isn't any significance in taking up your time, I guess. But nonetheless, let's get into the news. So first topic of discussion is there's supposedly from a link or a leak by Link 83 in terms of a post from the August Nintendo eShop thread that basically there's a patent for a very SNES shaped controller, which presumably would insinuate that there's gonna be something similar to the NES Classic or any NES Online. I mean, in terms of there was the controllers that came out last year to support playing Nintendo original Nintendo games on your Switch, where they've been releasing games every month, and it's like I'm about to sidetrack anyway, but yeah, so in terms of that, this definitely hints at a possibility of SNES online setup to some extent. So that is pretty cool. SNES to Nintendo Switch Online, that'd be cool. I hope there's no extra, I doubt it's extra charge. It'd probably make it more worthwhile. But this is good news either way. I know I'm gonna be a sucker for it if and when they ever release it. They said it's supposed to have a lot of similar dynamics as the Joy-Con to an extent. Obviously it doesn't seem to look to be like detachable. Well, maybe you could possibly do the same thing like the NES Switch controllers, where you can put them on the sides, but they look like by godly ugly and impractical as hell. But I mean, if whatever tickles your fancy, I mean, by all means, if you want to have a mutantoid looking Switch, freaking 1994 looking freaking I want to be in the past so bad looking, I'm a retro boy looking, let me stop. Seriously though, I'm definitely all for it. Love me some nostalgia in terms of retro games. I want to say technically my first console, man, it's all a blur really, but at least if anything, it's definitely one of the most substantial consoles I remember growing up was the Super Nintendo. So it does hold a special place in my heart and from a nostalgia aspect. So, you know, someone like me is going to eat all this up. Going to eat every little bit, every little crumb, every little scrumption. That is not a word, but you know what? Let's pretend it is a word. So, yeah. Interesting stuff, though. It seems pretty likely. I wonder if they'll be able to get it out before the end of this year. But I don't know. I think if the NES Online controller was any indication, I don't think it was announced until I think it was announced much earlier than now, compared to last year. But we'll see. Cool either way, though. I'm definitely gonna get it if it exists, which it probably is, because everybody's been wanting SNES Classic, or being able to play SNES games on their Switch. So I mean, it would only make sense, right? It's gotta make sense. If it ain't gonna make sense, then what use is it? You know, it's gotta make sense. If it ain't about dollars, then it ain't about cents. Do you pick up what I'm putting down? You probably don't. I'm sorry about that. I don't know where I was going with that. Let me control myself. Okay. So yeah, that is pretty cool. Looking forward to it if that actually comes to be. And I guess we'll see shortly. Probably it would be perfect timing for Gamescom if they were to announce some of this stuff. I'm not sure if Nintendo is confirmed to be at Gamescom though. Who knows? They might do some like stealth announcements, like, you know, announced right before Gamescom starts or something like that. But I guess that technically would have been today. That normally would have been the, you know, prime time to announce stuff, which at least to my knowledge, a lot of stuff has not been announced anyway. But yeah. Cool. So keeping along with, I guess, console war news, if you will. I mean, I'm not a fan of that terminology since I am a fan of all of them in their own unique way, like children. You can't pick one over the other, but you do like each and every one in their own way, except for, you know, the redheaded stepchild, which, you know, is, actually there really isn't no redheaded stepchild in this. So never mind. I love everybody. Yeah. So, in terms of news with Phil Spencer, I believe in an interview. Let me get the appropriate source. From a news article on Game & Bolt by Landon Wright. In terms of an interview, Phil Spencer denies streaming only next generation Xbox is in development. So obviously, unless you're under a rock, technically, I guess, it's been highly rumored that alongside a traditional next generation Xbox console, that there would be a much cheaper supplemental or, you know, alternative to the next generation Xbox, which would be, you know, much more cheaper, cost efficient, streaming only console that would release alongside it, which when you think about it makes a lot of sense, especially in terms of kind of where we're being hinted at going in terms of the next generation, or at least what's been tested out this whole generation, well, towards the end of the generation, technically, of this generation. So, but yes, in an interview, Phil Spencer straight up denied that suspicion of that, quote, "There are no plans for a streaming only system." So, I mean, it's kind of hard to deny that. He just said it flat out, but who knows? He could be, you know, maybe using some PRE terminology to kind of maybe dance around. Maybe it's still possible to have a weaker, but then when I think about it, it's like, what's the use? That would just take away sales from the main console in that case. So you might as well just have a brand new system that's just standard, not have that kind of parity between weaker and stronger console right out the gate. I guess it's somewhat more understandable to do kind of the same model that Xbox and PlayStation did with the Switch Pro and Xbox One X, but we'll see. I guess I'm technically on the side of just having one consistent general console with maybe the minor differences of hard drive size. What else? That's generally the only biggest difference between consoles, at least if last generation was any indication. So yeah, so something like that I'd be totally fine with. I don't think we're ready yet in terms of especially from an infrastructure standpoint, but across a lot of countries and states in the US in terms of having reliable enough internet speed to make a streaming only console that worthwhile regardless. So I'm totally all for it. I hate change. I want to keep the physicality of gaming alive. That's probably the best quality you can get in all of everything, really, when you think about it. So I mean, F streaming only consoles. I say streaming only consoles. It's just a piece of I hate it all. Not really. I mean, it's okay. Probably if I didn't feel like bringing my console with me when I'm traveling. But then when you're traveling, it's like when you're in hotel Wi-Fi, everything is horrible. Everything is just poor. And it's like you only get 2 gigabytes, I wish. Only get 2 kilobytes a second in terms of internet speed, which is not even reliable at all. So it's like, what am I doing? It's like you got your dick out, but nobody... It's like you got your dick out, but nobody ain't there. So it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Some random dude come in. What are you doing? Hey man, I just had my dick out. I'm sorry. Let me put it back. I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know where that came from, why that went down that route, but you know what? We're gonna go with it either way. So, so I think this is good in general. Definitely great to just have one standard console just to focus on, and like I was saying earlier, not have this kind of jarring parity between graphical power, and then developers have to worry about that, where somebody's gonna definitely feel the hurt, and even in some cases with the more powerful console, that technically would be compromised to an extent because they have to basically more than likely, it's pretty much a given at this point that it has to be derived from the lower version of the console, which ultimately doesn't lead to the most definitive experience it generally could have been without having that parity between consoles, where a developer can just focus strictly on one console SKU. Basically that isn't drastically different, that will warrant trying to make a version for that. And then overall, we've seen it with Xbox 360, PS3, that transitioning period from those consoles to Xbox One and PS4. So it would only make sense that that it would be some compromises somewhere in order to keep compatibility and development scaling, if you will, because I forgot who said it, but they said generally most developers develop the lower version of a game first and then just scale it up for the beefier consoles, which is, I guess, depends on the game, which obviously is better than nothing, but ideally just to have that true, I guess, 100% effort, or some energy that was possibly siphoned for that could just generally just be all focused into one just SKU of a, you know, console instead, and in regards to having a, you know, somewhat maybe slightly compromise, you know, in that regard. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Just saying. But thanks, Phil. Appreciate you, Phil. Hey, Phil. Appreciate you, man. Randomly in the shower, Phil Spencer's there. Yeah, well, we know Phil Spencer probably go to Equinox or something like that, the uppity gyms. But, you know, just randomly come in there. I'm like, hey, Phil. He in the shower. I'm right behind him. I'm right on his neck. Hey, Phil. Doing a good job, man. Just want to let you know that. I would get my ass kicked out immediately. Oh man. It's stupid. Okay. Yeah, so, and I think I saw another article about Phil Spencer, how he's exactly how he is, which is, I mean, he's Phil Spencer. You could tell he's a pretty good stand-up guy, modest, just humble, you know, not all up in his head like Phil Harrison, I believe, of you know, who basically just started this destruction of Xbox's name with the initial, you know, announcement of the Xbox One. Oh boy. Yeah, let's hope for, you know, a better beginning on the good foot for Phil, which I'm pretty confident that, you know, he will. And I mean, we got to give credit to Phil Spencer in terms of, I don't feel like he gets credit enough for trying to turn what could be honestly be a sinking ship in terms of, you know, the momentum that Xbox had going in, which was pretty much going on the down end, you know what I mean? So big ups to Phil Spencer for, you know, doing the best that he can with just being screwed, coming into things and trying to, you know, turn the ship around into a pretty great direction that, you know, I think us as gamers, as well as, you know, pretty much everybody, developers and all, can be appreciative of in terms of, you know, just a general operating system and, you know, console decisions that were made that, you know, you can tell definitely handicapped the Xbox as a whole in terms of them trying to basically change, like, you know, the operating system and interface that, you know, it started out to be and was originally planned to kind of be set out to be. That, you know, Phil Spencer and, you know, obviously his whole team at Xbox trying to make things more user friendly overall, you know. So I don't think he gets credit enough. So Phil Spencer, just want to let you know, man, I care about you and I love you. I mean, if you want to chill out in a sauna one day, just let me know, Phil. You got my number. You probably don't. I'm sorry, Phil. I'm sorry, Phil. All right. Next in news, at least that what I found interesting, we all know Loot Crate. Loot Crate is basically the I guess service company. Company where you would get new loot boxes every month. So it looks like Loot Crate has seen better days. Where it's been announced that, the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, as well as laying off roughly 50 employees. So it's not looking so good for Loot Crate in that respect. But I believe they said that they are promising to release the remaining Loot Crates that they had planned out or scheduled. So that's, you know, I guess good for the customers that have used it. I mean, myself, I've never really used it, never necessarily felt compelled to get it. I mean, there's some cool crates I wanted to get, but I guess as a whole, I don't know. It just felt like the whole dynamic just didn't really appeal to me. It was just, general knickknacks and stuff like that, but nothing really cool or substantial. And I was like, wow, I'm really glad I got this. It just in my head felt like just stuff that would just be just more miscellaneous clutter that I technically, honestly, already got that I don't want any more of. So, yeah. But, sorry to hear about, it's always bad to hear, company, not doing so good business wise. I mean, regardless if you hate it or like it, the company for what it was. So apologies to all of the employees that lost their jobs. Know for sure that they'll be landed on their feet. But yeah, I just thought this was interesting because, obviously Loot Crate is very highly related to gaming in terms of a lot of gaming related crates and stuff like that. So I thought it was significant to discuss and kind of explore, So next in news, we got somewhat of a semi-confirmation, or I guess technically a confirmation, from Nathan, Dark Detective NL on Twitter. He confirmed that Volition is working on a new Saints Row game. It is, quote, the first full entry in the much-loved series since the studio released Saints Row 4 in 2013, according to THQ Nordic's earnings release. I believe in general there was an earnings release that released a lot of other details about some of the IPs that THQ owns that will that it's going to be some action being taken on the IPs that, it'll eventually lead to some releases. I believe they referred to Time Splitters and what was another one? Darn it. What was it? Oh, Dead Island 2 as well. So those were the few games that were at least somewhat semi-confirmed to be in the works of having some continuity in their game series. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, specifically for Saints Row, I mean, yeah, I feel like now's a better time than ever, with especially Grand Theft Auto spanning out releases like longer and longer with each, new iteration. It seems only right for Volition to come out with a Saints Row game. My biggest hope is that they don't try to continue Saints Row 4. I personally was not a fan of the mechanics of Saints Row 4. I guess it's overall, in general, the whole game compared to the other Saints Row games. I mean, it was fun. It was enjoyable in terms of playing in general, but I personally would have wanted some more, semi-realism, if you will, in terms of Saints Row, like similar to Saints Row 3. I think that kept a really great balance of, being pretty kooky while still maintaining some sense of realism. Kind of similar to the older Grand Theft Auto games, before the next gen, or, is it 7th gen? 360 PS3, I want to say. It's either 6th or 7th gen, I think. Either way, you get what I'm saying. Where, Grand Theft Auto had that sense of realism while technically, having the suspended belief that it's a video game, where you have the video gamey aspects, but at the same time still keep that, balance of having some somewhat realistic-y stuff. I guess in general, I just don't want this series to continue going off the rails as much as it technically did with Saints Row 4. Like the superhero powers, flying and jumping in the air and everything. It just felt not Saints Row-y. That's probably the best way to explain it. I just wasn't a fan of it compared to other ones. I just like the cool semi-realism, kind of, trying to be like what Grand Theft Auto used to be, which that's a pretty great pocket to be in terms of, technically when you think about it, kind of riding off the coattails of Grand Theft Auto, where, obviously I would argue that most people, when they think of Saints Row, being a Saints Grand Theft Auto clone, which is, to be honest, pretty safe to say, I guess with the exception of Saints Row 4, technically, where it just, just goes off the hinges. It freaking breaks that door off. Just break that door off and just swing it where it wants to be honest. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's my biggest hope, that it just goes back to the realism, semi-realism / kookiness that was Saints Row 3, that I think managed to do that blend pretty well. I guess as well as Saints Row 2 too, I think Saints Row 1 felt too realistic, where it was kind of weird. Still wasn't sure what it was yet. At least that's kind of what I felt when I played it. But you could tell in 2 and 3, it started gaining more of its identity, and we kind of established itself as kind of what we know Saints Row to be and what we expect of the series and as in general. And then we think about the story of Saints Row 4. It does kind of lead it to be somewhat semi-retconned, if you will, because it was all kind of a simulation, I believe, anyway. So that's kind of maybe the cop-out they can use to kind of get out of, maybe the expectation of people wanting to go into continue the superhero route or whatever, So yeah, I mean, for what it's worth. And yeah, I guess they kind of got retconned in some of the later BLT, give me that bacon. What? The later DLCs for Saints Row. So that's my biggest hope, but it is good to at least get some confirmation that another Saints Row is coming out. I will definitely play it. I had a great time with the whole series. I thoroughly enjoyed them. I had a lot of memories with the first one with his crappy multiplayer. But boy, man, would not a little kid without much money playing this game. I was I was gonna make that game last. You hear me? Wasn't the best multiplayer, but boy, I made sure I enjoyed the hell out of it. So, yeah. Hopefully, THQ makes the right decision, or the decision I prefer. I guess don't want to confine things in that sense. What else about Volition and Saints Row? Oh yeah, I did enjoy the spin-off technically of the Saints Row game, which was Agents of Mayhem. So I mean, I doubt it'll do anything. Maybe some continuity with maybe acknowledging that game or to some extent within the next one, but yeah, I don't know. It was cool. Maybe implement some aspects to that, like superpowers, or that'd be kind of cool. It was a cool mindless shooter that I got some enjoyment out of in general. I ended up beating it and all that. So that would be my hope for the next Saints Row if and when it does come out. So I guess only time will tell until we see how they really want to treat that, or how they are what direction they're gonna go with the series as a whole. So cool. I mean, at this point, they might as well just try to go for the next generation. That could be a possibility. That will probably be preferred, in my opinion. They might as well just wait it out until the next generation. So we'll see. It might probably be a late release for current gen consoles. But yeah, man, I am pretty pumped for that. That definitely caught my attention. So yeah. that pretty much covers all the news that I thought or deemed to be significant to talk about / discuss. Yeah. So I guess we'll get into what I've been playing as of late. So I finally, oh, I gotta do it. Where's my echo one? Fine. Nope. How about that?
How about this?
No. Finally. Radio. All right, I guess I got to do some tweaking. I need an echoey version of, damn it. Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I have that set? Either way, finally beat Judgment. And man, it was a pretty good payoff, I got to say. Specifically, I guess, towards the sub-story side cases / friends. Man, I don't want to spoil it too. It's been about what, 2 months. I'll dance around. But yeah, basically in terms of doing all those damn miscellaneous friend quests and side cases, which were fun. I'm not sure I'm complaining about it like I did enjoy them. There was such a great payoff with this, I guess, second to last quest that only unlocks after you beat all the other quests, basically. And man, it was just this cool sense of just camaraderie and like, yeah, we're with you. You got me. We're with you, man. Yeah, don't worry, man. We'll stand up for you. Where, you know, kind of like it kind of reminds me of Avengers Endgame, where, you know, the one scene where, you know, you could sense like it's just total adversity against Steve, and, you know, like everybody came up, hey man, don't worry, we got your back, man. Hey man, I remember when you helped me when I wasn't nothing. Hey, I got your back. Don't worry about it, man. It just make you want to tear up a little bit. I ain't gonna lie, I kind of teared up a little bit. I don't know. I'm a sucker for those moments where, you know, you weren't expecting somebody to help you out and then they did. I always just fall for that for some reason. I can't describe why, but man, that got my heartstrings. It was pulling them really hard. It was pulling my heart to the extent that I was about to lose it, but I contained myself. I kept my composure, and I sustained myself to further enjoy this quest that was technically the semi-finale one. So basically, in terms of the quest, I'm still trying to dance around, not being too spoilery. You eventually go against the Kaihen 4 gang, basically, in various segments. And then you ultimately, you know, kind of thwart whatever they were trying to do, basically. And then, you know, everybody celebrates. Oh yeah, you got me. Oh yeah, man. Oh man. Hey, we're friends, man. Hey, through thick and thin, as imperfect as we all are, we're gonna stand our ground, and we don't care who gets in our way. You know, I don't know. Stuff like that always gets to me. It's just so genuine. It feels so genuine and sincere, you know, and realistic, I guess, that, you know, you can kind of identify with some of those aspects, like a bunch of Nojos teaming up to fight for something they believe in. I always find to be compelling and interesting and, you know, fascinating in a lot of ways. So, boy, that was such a great payoff. And if you guys are familiar with previous Yakuza games where you have to beat all the sub-stories / well, I guess in Yakuza sense, sub-stories to unlock a special final sub-story, I can definitely confirm that is in this one. And good God, is it as difficult, annoying, but just as satisfying in a Dark Soulsy way as possible, pretty much. So pretty much gives you that same satisfaction as the original Yakuza games. So for those that are curious, yes, it is there. the lineage continues. To be as cryptic as I can. Yeah, man, boy, it was great. It was great after you found it out, and you got that sense of like discovery, like, oh, really? Okay, I don't know why I didn't think about that. Oh, so good, so good. And then, of course, the story, in terms of everything kind of tying up, I thoroughly enjoyed the hell out of it. The ending was pretty great. You got a lot of payoff. Nothing that was directly just dangling or intentionally cliffhanging for like maybe presumably a next one or something like that. I will say it does seem like they the lanes are open for another one too. But yeah, in general, good God, I guess I'll give my overall impressions of Judgment. In terms of ranking it of all the Yakuza games, it's not as good. Let me be careful. At least coming fresh off my head and knowing how recent I played some of the other ones, I felt like I technically enjoyed the original Yakuza's better in a lot of ways. So I'll probably put it before basically all of the new. It would probably be last out of all the new Dragon Engine and even PS4 releases. So pretty much after Zero, after Zero. So it's probably Judgment, Zero, Kiwami, 6, and Kiwami 2. Trying to think if I forgot one. No, in terms of specific Dragon Engine releases, that's currently where I would put it. Don't get me wrong, it's still an enjoyable Yakuza, but if I had to compare it against the other ones, I guess I just still feel like I identify more with Kiryu, and I guess just having him be such an established character in the series for so long, it's hard for me to depart from him and just accept a new character of this Yagami character guy. I didn't necessarily, I guess, like him as much as Kiryu. I mean, obviously, yeah, in that case, yeah, I just didn't really like and identify with him as much as I did with Kiryu. Kiryu's felt more quiet, strong, silent type, which I can identify with a lot, which is why I feel like I attach myself to the character a lot more. But Yagami, I don't know, he just feels more rebellious, and I can't really put my finger on it, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, directly if I compared it to Kiryu, yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Let's say if none of the Yakuza games existed technically, and this was the first game ever, I'd probably rant and rave about this one, maybe to kind of give some perspective on kind of like my, I guess, thoughts of it as a whole, I was kind of tempted to platinum it, but good God, a lot of that is ridiculous. Like 6 was probably the easiest to platinum ever. Definitely out of all the Yakuzas. Kiwami 2 was a grind, but it wasn't as bad. It was still fairly doable. But then the older ones like Zero and Kiwami were like, I could probably still do them whenever I want to, but boy, those were a little too tough. They were more time consuming than ever. Specifically, the mahjong and shogi, and having to win specific types of ways. Obviously can take a pretty long time to get all those specific achievements, which is required to basically get the platinum ultimately at the end of the day. So from that aspect, I guess if you are a achievement trophy hunter, this is somewhat reasonable, but compared to the other Yakuza games, moderately difficult to attain. But yeah, overall with Judgment, I definitely like some of the decisions they made. I can't wait to see, all these decisions they made in this one. What is how 7, or I think they're calling it something else, but Yakuza 7 is gonna come out with a new character yet again. I think his name is Ichiban. So we'll see how I like him as well. But yeah, man, thoroughly enjoyed it. It obviously got me hooked and enthralled to the point where I beat the main game as well as doing all the sub stories. A big I guess disappointment, now that I'm remembering, after you beat the game, there is, a premium adventures like the previous game where, you basically can explore the city and do all the sub quests that maybe you missed in playing the original story and stuff like that. But, oh my God, it's such a huge disappointment. You don't get to change your costumes like in the Yakuza games. That hurt me so much. I was so disappointed. Like, otherwise I probably would have been compelled to finish up some of the achievements and finish the game altogether. Well, 100% the game possibly, but not having alternate costumes you can change into. Like, how dare you not have Kiryu's suit for you to wear? What is that? I guess maybe some justification or semi explanation as to why is that, throughout the game you do, since you play as a detective, you do pick up disguises that you can use and things like that. But on top of that, it's like you can't even go into disguises unless you're in a scenario where you need to put yourself in a disguise. So it's only a very few set piece moments where you're prompted or insinuated to go into disguise to get yourself out of a sticky situation or infiltrate a building or something like that. So, I mean, what would have made even more sense then is for you to basically, like, after you beat the game, like, why not let you switch into all or any of the disguises that you attain throughout the whole game? That befuddled me so much. I was like, okay, so if there isn't costumes, can I at least change into the disguises I got, which you couldn't, and that like hurt me even more. So it's like that could have been a pretty at least decent constellation. I mean, it's obvious that you can use the costumes as disguises or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's a reward after fully attaining all the skills, which I haven't got. I'm pretty close, but I haven't picked up all the skills or, unlocked everything in the game. Yeah, that kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. God, it could be a simple DLC, to add just costumes, just have your closet in your house being able to change into whatever suits. Come on, Kiryu suit, original gray and red shirt. Come on, Sega. Ryuga Gotoku Studios. I butchered that name. I'm sorry. Ryuga Gotoku Studios. Come on. Give me some more reward for beating the game, for doing everything. Or if anything, I mean, a reward for 100% the game. I wouldn't prefer that, but I mean, it'd be something, to kind of strive for. And like, okay, well, as long as I can lock these costumes, all right, just one more thing for me to encourage me to, keep playing or trying to beat the game. But no, it chose not to, which I looked on the forums, looked it up in terms of making sure, because this has been out in Japan for a while now. I think in this past December and then recently came out in June. So it's pretty much confirmed that, at least from what I looked at in the forums, that it's not an option, which is such a missed opportunity. I guess maybe they're trying not to, be too similar to Yakuza, even though that's kind of hard to do because it's like a lot of mechanics in the game very much are similar, if not directly the same as the Yakuza games. So it hurts a lot, but definitely recommend it for those that may be too intimidated by Yakuza as a series, because it's a whole lot of lore. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That is a lot of content, even though technically each game, if you critical path just the main story and don't do the side stuff, even though they're very worthwhile doing, you can get pretty much through all of them within 10 hours each. Even less so if you skip cutscene. If you skip cutscenes, but that obviously I wouldn't recommend that because you wouldn't be getting a story anyway. But yeah. I highly recommend it for those who maybe are interested in the Yakuza series but have been little hesitant to dip their toe in. I definitely would recommend this one. It's a clean slate, doesn't have any correlation to the previous Yakuzas, just maybe one or two. Only from my experience playing the game, all the sub stories and the main story, it was very few references than I was expecting to the previous games. I think the only ones I caught were Onomichio-kun and who else? Was that really the only one? It was some other character that appeared in the previous Yakuza as well, but that was it. I kind of part of me really wanted that, but I can see why they don't want to do that at the same time. But at least through playing the game, you could tell that a lot of continuity, there is somewhat of a continuity from the other games. So it seems like from a timeline perspective, it does somewhat is related. They're in the same universe, it feels like, at least. That's what I was kind of curious about as I was playing the game, like where this kind of sets in the universe of Yakuza. And it technically does. It seems to take place after Yakuza 6 to some extent, but it's hard to really ultimately pin that down. But from a lot of the insinuation and I guess directly the Onomichio-kun quest, it seems very implied that this takes place sometime after the events of Yakuza 6, technically, even though the stories aren't related at all. So you don't need to play any of the previous Yakuzas to understand anything going on here. It would be some cool subtle references that you'll get, particularly I guess mainly Onomichio-kun, which I guess you can look up YouTube or something like that. But yeah, outside of that, there isn't really anything directly that you would be missing out on. So yeah, again, I would highly recommend, those that are curious about the game and are curious to dip in and test it out, that this is a perfect game to kind of explore that. A lot of the similar mechanics and dynamics that are in this one are in the other Yakuza games. So yeah, man, thoroughly enjoyed it. Still doesn't compete with my man Kiryu and Goro Majima, but a worthwhile game either way. So that is, I guess, technically somewhat of a semi-review of Yakuza. Wow, see, look, I did it. Judgment. One thing I also wanted to touch on real quick too is the Phoenix Wrightness of it. I kind of I wish it was more. No, now that I think about it, it was pretty fairly done. it was respectably, reasonably done. Now that I think about it, it wasn't too prudent. It wasn't too like frequent. I felt each moment, each period was justified in terms of its use. But yeah, basically, after playing the whole game, if Yakuza and Phoenix Wright had dirty, nasty sex and just had a baby that they, maybe didn't or weren't prepared for, didn't want to have, but then, they complaining and fighting the whole time they pregnant, and then, then they had the baby. All right. That would be judgment. I guess exclude all the backstory. I don't know why I went that route, but I did, and we're gonna stay with it. But yeah, very fulfilled with that game. I put like 70 hours in. But mind you, a lot of that is sub stories, friend quest, talking to the girls, girlfriends. I'll be honest with y'all. I totally forgot about that too. I was a player in that game. That is not what I'm like in real life. Okay, I'm total opposite. All right, just want to put that out there. I was only doing it to get the achievements. All right, okay, all right. The girls were cute though. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was enjoyable having conversations, getting to know them better, but I felt guilty, because basically you come across 4 girlfriends in the game, and then you get a chance. Basically, you kind of have to keep hanging out with them, going out on dates, and then you basically get their meter up all the way to the max, if you will, and then after that, they'll come to you and say, hey, Yagami, I really like you, and these feelings I'm having for you, I really love you. And, then you have the choice to just shut her ass down, like, bitch, I don't love you. You better get out my face with that mess. Trying to bring these feelings onto me. Who are you? Or you can accept their love willingly, which will make you boyfriend and girlfriend technically. But when you get other girlfriends, or come across other girls that potentially can be your girlfriend, you come across that same choice and basically can do all the same things with technically no repercussion. So basically you can be Yagami the pimp and basically be pulling all these 4 girls as your girlfriend, and living that what's the term now? I guess a male thought. Yeah, you be living that thought life. You got me to thought. That's what I should be calling him now. Yeah, damn shame. You got me to thought. But to his credit, he does, question himself, like, should I be lying? And I do have a girlfriend. So he does say some of that. For most of the girlfriends that you potentially get. So it's a weird gray line they put there. Well, I mean, obviously it's bad, but for me, strictly in the purpose of getting these achievements, I mean, and then on top of it, I mean, I don't want to let them down. They're so cute. And they just seeing their whole trial to get with me, a lot of them are like, very pent up and are very closed off. And then, me being their only opportunity to be with them, they don't want to, I had to, okay? I'm just saying. I just wanted them achievements. Otherwise, that would have been nice. And then it's like Ari's a girlfriend with one of them, but then the other one is cuter. So it's like, what am I going to do anyway? All right. I don't know. Why am I trying to justify the decisions I made to y'all? Okay, this is strictly game related. This would not be in real life. All right. I just want to put that out there. All right. Maybe this is some guilt that I'm confiding to y'all, but still, okay. All right. I mean, yes, judgment. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Had to let that out. Okay. It's not bad. It's a video game. This is not real life. I would not do it otherwise. Okay. Thank you. So yeah, that pretty much covers Judgment. Enjoyable game. I thoroughly had a great time with it. Um, Next interesting game I've been playing lately is Nier. Not Nier Automata, the original Nier. On the original Xbox. Well, not the original Xbox, because Microsoft got all the terminology messed up. The Xbox 360. Playing Nier 1. And boy, this has been actually a long time coming, to be honest. I would probably within the span of a year or two. No, I'll say roughly last year. So I played the game for a couple hours, then dropped it for like a year or roughly a year or so. Picked it up a little bit here and there in between. But I think the reason why it just wasn't grabbing me like I wanted it to. And then, man, I was like, you know what? I had all these, I had that post-mortem game feel, you know what I mean? Where it's like you kind of feel this sense of, I'm pretty sure it's a term for it. You feel this sense of attachment to the game, you know, like you've been playing it consistently for so long, and now it's like you're done. And it's like you're not sure what to do with yourself afterward. So that's I was in that state after beating Judgment somewhat semi-shortly. But I was deciding what I wanted to play next. And then I was like, you know what? Yeah, I've not played Nier. I kind of want to see what all the fuss was about for Nier Automata and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and start playing Nier 1. So that's what I did. I started playing it, and then I was getting to the point where, like, you know what, yeah, I'm probably gonna just put it on the back burner and try something else. But man, I was like, you know what, I was right at the verge to it, and I was like, you know what, let me just try this other segment, and after that, then I'll be good. And then, of course, it could not have been perfectly timed. Right after that particular segment, it was a significant story changing point. Not gonna spoil it, even though it's been a 9-year-old game now. A pretty significant change in the story, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm kind of interested now. You get like a lot of new abilities and stuff. I'm like, okay, this is where the game is starting to pick up. I see. And then, yeah, ever since then, I was enthralled, and then started getting more interested, and then ultimately beat it. And that's kind of the dilemma I'm at right now in terms of the game. It's like I'm in this weird uncertainty in terms of the game. So to dance around, directly spoiling the game. And I guess I've heard it's kind of similar with Nier Automata as well, is that basically after you beat the game, you technically don't beat the game, quote unquote. So it seems, at least from what I'm playing now. So basically after you beat the game, you get ending A, I believe they called it. But then after you do that, you get you're able to create another save point and then do route, or it's something, I forgot the terminology, but you can do, I think, route B or something like that, where basically you play the game again, but from a somewhat slightly, at least initially what I've seen, slightly different perspective. At least in this case, you were playing as one character, and then, at least what I thought initially, you would start the game as another character and play it that way. That would have been a little bit more interesting. But then now, after doing it, it basically started with a whole super uber, what's the term? Is it active novel? Or basically they pretty much just had you read it seemed like 6 chapters out of a book somewhat. But I guess an enhanced novel, interactive novel, I think interactive novel, I want to say. So it basically had that aspect that was basically a good point starting out. Then after that, they basically, it seemed like they set the basis for kind of the explanation of this one character who was pretty much mysterious for most of the game. So then after that, you technically play at least the second half of the game. At least it isn't the whole game, because if that was the case, I probably would have dropped it. I probably would have been done. But now it seems somewhat more doable, and then some of the interesting additional points are kind of cool. You know, you see a different perspective that you didn't notice or obviously wasn't brought to your attention playing it the first time. So I'm curious to see how far that goes, but at the same time, I don't want to feel burnt where it's like I kind of did all this for nothing, where I just could have watched a YouTube video and got all of the same thing. But I was doing some research on it, and it seems like it is worthwhile literally playing through the game the additional times yourself. So I think I'm going to try it, see how I feel about it, see if I ultimately don't get burned. But, you know, in general, we'll see. But yeah, that's technically where I'm at with the game. I technically beat it, but didn't beat it. Technically, I guess. Depends on what you perceive that as. But I'm indecisive. I'm indecisive about how I feel yet. I think once I see all the corresponding endings, I think I will feel more justified, or, you know, I guess satiated in terms of the decision I potentially want to make with how I feel about the game. So that's kind of where I'm at and kind of feel at the moment about the game. I'm kind of indecisive. The gameplay is pretty interesting. It kept me engaged. It had a lot of interesting aspects. The combat was pretty cool. Them side quests, though, Jesus, it just felt like just tedious fetch quest city. So I pretty much skipped a lot of those that are in the game. It didn't seem like a lot of those were worthwhile anyway. It just gives you extra money. And it seems like the most powerful weapons you get anyway are throughout the story in general. So I hear that it might be some reward for doing all the quests or something like that. But if it just results in the best in it or something like that, I'm like, no, I'm just probably just going to look that up specifically on YouTube if that's the case. But I'm just going to let myself dance in mystery and curiosity to see how that comes to be, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much how I've been in terms of Nier. It is pretty interesting. I like how off the rails they go with the game. They keep it real sometimes. Like this one character, Grimoire. I'm just call him Grimoire. I forgot his last name. But he be going off the rails, calling this one girl hussy, and then the other girl Cayenne, I want to say, and she just be going off the rails too, like, you bitch, you stupid ass. She be straight cussing out. Like, I was like, whoa, this is weird. For like, it didn't seem like it made sense in this type of game and universe, but at the same time, it's like, I'm interested though. So there's been that factor as well. But all in all, I'm curious to see how the latter endings maybe elaborate or bring new light to what I was expected to know at the end of the first ending. So apparently it's pretty substantial and it's worthwhile doing. So I'm gonna go on a limb and trust the folks that have played this game and experienced it and see how that spans out. And it'll probably also give me the similar expectation in terms of Nier Automata, because I know for sure it's the same format as well, where I think that takes it, that one takes it to a whole nother level in that extent. So I am very interested to see what the fuss is about with this one, and then play Nier Automata at some point. Might take a back burner for Gears 5, because that's going to come out soon, and goodness, Control, that's going to come out at the end of the month. That is just first world problems. On top of that, I forgot Monster Hunter Iceborne. All this is coming out around the same time frame, so now they're gonna give me this horrible first world problem of being indecisive and not sure what game I want to play or devote my time to first. Why must you do this, game companies? Why do you give me this first world problem of deciding what game I want to play first? How dare you? How dare you? As I have a pinky on my, got my pinky up, sipping some tea. I'm not sipping tea. I'm just saying that for joking purposes. I'm not that type. I don't make tea. Tea is stupid unless it's the good tea. That some raspberry tea. Love me some damn raspberry tea. Goodness. Sorry. I don't know why I went there, but I did. Okay. I guess outside of gaming, in terms of viewing, show-wise, I caught up, I haven't caught up. I caught the first 2 episodes of Orange is the New Black season 7. I think season 7, which they said is going to be the final season. They said it straight up, like when you start the season or something like that. I think the summary of the previous seasons, they said is going to be the final season or something like that. But either way, first 2 episodes were pretty interesting. Very fascinated to see how a lot of dynamics are going to play out. I guess, as a whole, I've not really been disappointed with any of the seasons, or didn't feel like one season was drastically subpar compared to other ones that I recall, at least. So it's hard to say. But at least in terms of currency, and some interesting stuff has been going into play. And I'm curious to see what comes of it. So it definitely did its job in that aspect of, piquing my interest to see the next episodes and see how that plays out. So I'll probably give a little, not a spoiler or anything. I'll just briefly give initial impressions after I finish the whole season. May possibly do it this weekend, but I don't know. I more than likely want to devote my time to try to get all these endings out and get that knocked out the way. But yeah, outside of that, that's pretty much all I've been up to there. Yeah, so I guess some housekeeping. As always, thank you for listening. But if you can, definitely greatly appreciate it if you rate, subscribe, and I don't know, I want to say submit. That just sounds so dominatrixy, which I wasn't trying to get at. But I mean, hey, if you into that type of thing, by all means, I'll be a dom. Is there a male version of a dominatrix? A domaman? All right, you know what? I gotta look this up because I am curious. Is there a male version of a dominatrix? I would think so. Are they called a dominatrix? These are important questions we need to know. Forget about all this, world hunger stuff. This is the important stuff right here. I'm telling you. A dom or dominant or dom daddy. So it seems to be a lot of terms. So dom, dominant, or I don't know. I'm not sure if they're joking. It seems likely a dom daddy. Dom daddy seems, I guess, to be the most realistic. Dom daddy, please more. Gotta do the voice.
Dom daddy, please. Dom daddy, please. I want some more.
You gon' get all these slaps if you want, bitch. I don't care. You sit on your damn knees and you gonna take these slaps.
Oh, yes, I want. May I have some more? May I have some more?
Yes, you may. Yes, you may, you dirty bitch. You so dirty. I can't do it. Oh, man. Okay. All right. So my question was answered. I'm sorry. I felt like I'm sorry. That was a necessary segue. I apologize for that, but I had to know. My instant curiosity had to be satiated right there. I had to squash it. I hope you understand. As right after I say, please like and subscribe, I went, oh, okay. Yeah, I guess you can't write that up. Either way, man, now I lost my train of thought. That totally derailed me. Yeah, you could check me out on Twitch TV/aswitch. You can also check me out on youtube.com/aswitch. You can also check out my website, which I do host this podcast from, which is aswitch.net. Plan to pretty it up. Well, it technically is in a pretty good state in general, to be honest. But maybe down the line, I plan to maybe fancy it up to some other ideal extent. But at least as of now, I'm pretty satisfied with the state it's currently in. So by all means, check it out there. You can get the links to all my other sites and, well, I guess sites I'm currently active on. With that being said as well, you can also check me out on also check me out on Twitter at aswitch, where I do post ignorant and dumb stuff, but at the same time I post meaningful and thoughtful stuff too. Not even gonna lie to y'all, it is a lot of ignorant, dumb stuff, but at the same time, there's some pepper of substance there too. Don't get it twisted, okay? Don't. Because I'm a black man, don't put me into that constrained box of being an ignorant black man, even though that's highly what I kind of portray. But no, don't judge a book by its cover, and even if that book cover is obvious or blatant, you gotta pull that book cover off and then look at the sides. But even then, you gotta open that page up a little bit more. Look at the pages. Check out the first page. Check out the paragraphs. What's the sentence structure? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Okay, thank you. You can also check me out. Well, not check me out, but if you like to support the content, keep the lights going, by all means, you can donate on Patreon. I guess I'm not sure how that works, so I probably shouldn't really be pledging that or promoting that if I'm not even really fleshing that out like I want to. But either way, you can, explore that site, and I'm not sure if the site has worked fully. I haven't got time to really flesh it out, but in general, you could check it out. And then, you can also show your support in other ways, subscribing on my Twitch, YouTube, and all other platforms that I'm not cognizant of at the moment. But yeah, man. Trying to think of anything else, but I think that's it. Definitely looking forward to next week in terms of Gamescom. Definitely expecting to hear a lot of news coming out of there. But yeah, I'm actually surprised by the lack of content we had this week, but hey, we made it work either way. But yeah, until next time, guys.